Niko Moreno from Pulso Sports and our friends at the soccer bar. And it's, as always, my friend, great to have you here to discuss things on a Thursday.
Thank you for having me as always. Give me a little sound check. Make sure that I'm coming in nice and neat. All right, good stuff. I am in the beautiful Eastern Washington area. So I'm at a hotel. I just turned off the AC because it was extremely loud. So for you and only for you, I am burning up in this hotel room.
The man is in the man's in the Puyallup, but he's in Eastern Washington, and he's sitting there, and he's. Are you like in Spokane or something? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm in Wenatchee, for some other work stuff that I'm doing over here. So I've been here for about 3 days. My last day here. Always, nice weather, hot. So I enjoy my time over here. Really good craft beers and some good stuff over here.
I see how it's working. I see how this works here. We got a lot to talk about. We've got a Gold Cup to talk about because it is not the United States in the final, but it is Mexico in the final. And I continue to sit there and I go, is El Tri back? Are they back? But it was the Final Four was a big game for the United States, having to play 120 minutes for the second time in a row, and didn't make it out of PKs the second time, losing to Panama, and Mexico knocking off Jamaica. Henry Martin scoring in the first 90 seconds, and they were kind of off and running. What's been your thoughts about El Tri? What's been your thoughts about the tournament? What's been your thoughts about the U.S. men's national team?
So it all kind of goes together. I'm still not El Tri is back believer, and that's because the Gold Cup should not be your parameter on showing where you are, because the quality was so poor in this particular Gold Cup. We've talked about it before in this show and many other shows as well, that not everybody took this Gold Cup as seriously as Mexico. It was a must-have for the Mexican Federation. It was something to hang their hat on. They needed this, especially with their new head coach and the saving grace of once again having a Mexican national running El Tri. So that's going to be the story. They needed to get this win. I think they played okay. It was probably their best game so far that I've seen them play against Jamaica. Again, it's not brilliant, it's not amazing, but they're effective, and they're finding ways to be dangerous, and they exploited some of the deficiencies that Jamaica had. They gave them a lot of room to transit the ball. I thought Henry Martin was dangerous the whole time. I'm starting to see a little bit of what we thought that a guy like Chavez could provide for this team in the midfield. I've always liked Romo too. I thought he had a good game. So all in general, I'm not going to say that El Tri is back, but I think we're starting to see components that could at one point become a better team than they have been over the last couple of years. But again, this tournament is not a determining factor to say that Mexico has once again found a great foundation of good soccer.
And then you look at the U.S., and depending on who you talk to, it was either a grade C roster or a grade D roster, thirds and fourths, and combinations there with some, A-listers that were paired with it. But when you look at the tournament from the U.S., what have been some of your big takeaways?
I think it's been experimental. I really don't know why people are, I don't want to say maybe not surprised, but why they're putting so much into this Gold Cup, because you could tell from the very beginning that all it was experimental, was to try to find some players to create a bigger player pool that eventually could help you in some way. Their inability to win has been the biggest problem, right? They couldn't beat Canada. They couldn't beat Panama. So those are the type of things that you get when you're playing Julian Gressel out wide, and you're trying to figure out where Bucio is, and you play him every game. I think that the one consistent player, and probably the player of the tournament for this U.S. men's national team is James Sands. Just distribution-wise, nice collective in defensive moments, understands the game very well. He was the one consistent player for this national team. Turner, another one, of course. I thought that he was very good in all the matches. He gave this team a chance to win, even in PKs yesterday. So all in all, my takeaway is nothing happened. This is not something that was a priority for the U.S. men's national team. It's completely experimental. I thought that even yesterday, in my mind, I was thinking, look, they've experimented enough. They looked at a couple of players, but they're 2 games away from getting a title, so they're going to put out their best lineup, and they didn't, right? I thought Miazga was the right choice that they should have gone with right next to Robinson. That didn't happen. Jetlin was the experienced guy that got ahead a lot better and transitioned just quicker, and you saw the difference he made as soon as he jumped into the game. That's when you were able to pin back Panama a little bit. I thought that they were going to go with a little bit more speed out wide, and they didn't do that either. So all in all, I just thought it was an experimental moment for this U.S. men's national team. That's why Greg wasn't running it either. They didn't want his face even close to this squad. So it's no surprise that they had so many issues that they weren't able to win, and that yesterday, despite having a chance to take it, unfortunately in PKs, is anybody's game. Jesus misses Christian, which I feel awful for him because I thought he put a lot of effort, and I thought he was a difference maker when he came on. They just couldn't pull it off.
All right, so we'll put the Gold Cup to the side, and now we'll talk about Major League Soccer. And before you came on, I went into the standings in the East and the West. And there are stacks in each conference where you're chasing after positioning. 3 through 7 in the East is crazy right now. And it's a little lower in the West where it's crazy right now. So I would go ahead and I would caution folks that it's going to be this way for the rest of the regular season. So if you see something, your team could have a good week, and if you're playing twice, you get a full 6 points, you rocket up the standings. Same thing could happen if you lose twice in a week and you're down 7, 8, 9. So when you look at things, and we're right now at the halfway point of the season, just past it, actually the 2/3 point of the season with like 11 matches to go. When you look at things in the East and the West, from the beginning of this season to now, did you anticipate it being this competitive and this crazy in both conferences?
I did. I did. I thought the East was going to be the most competitive, to be honest. I was not expecting, as no one was, how good St. Louis was going to be. So that was kind of the odd team out in terms of what you thought it was going to look like initially before the season even started. But yeah, I mean, the competition level was huge. We talked in this show about those constant teams that are always in the playoffs, like Timbers, like Seattle, plus the up-and-comers with Austin, with Houston, with a couple of teams that really loaded up before the season in terms of talent. So, yeah, I thought it was going to be competitive. Maybe not this tight of a race, especially for the moment in the season that we are before All-Star break. So it's kind of the midpoint, you know what I mean? So I didn't think it was going to be as tight as it is right now, but the competition level was going to be there for sure. But it's been fun. It's been fun to watch. You could tell both conferences are extremely talented, although the East does seem to be a level up in terms of just points. I mean, you look at where St. Louis is, and they wouldn't be close to the top. It might have been like fifth or something in the East in terms of points. So it's interesting the way it's played out.
You look in the East, since you mentioned the East, and I know a lot of folks have gravitated toward the street fight last night in Nashville, with Nashville and Philadelphia, where Philadelphia does what they do. Nashville didn't have an answer. They were pinned in for the full 90 minutes, and then it turns into Monday Night Raw for the final 20, where Daniel Lovitz gets a red in the 81st. Shaq Moore and Julian Carranza decided that they were going to chase after the Intercontinental Championship, and I think it was Carranza that started with the headlock, and then actually no, Shaq Moore had the headlock, and then Julian Carranza tried the collar and elbow lockup to try to get Shaq to break the hold from the ref count of 5. I think that when you look at Nashville after what happened yesterday, I think once again they've been exposed. And it's been a case where they've been hiccuping their way through right now, even though they are where they are in the standings in the East.
Yeah, no, 100%. First of all, I mean, it was a playoff feel in Nashville. I'm not saying that I'm okay with fans throwing stuff at players or anything like that, but the atmosphere was very good away from those undesirable moments. The teams from the very beginning were clashing, were winning duels, some reckless challenges throughout the game. But yes, to your point, we've seen enough of a Nashville team that is depending on whether Mokhtar is on or off. If he's not scoring, if he's not doing magical things, he had a couple of opportunities in this one where he just doesn't put it away. He has no help. Burnberry's, look, he's a serviceable 9, and they have a collective play that has gotten them where they are. But we've said this before, right? They need to bring somebody in that is going to be a finisher, that's going to take that weight off of Honey, that could maybe even play and interchange in certain moments with him. So absolutely, when you go against a team like Philadelphia that is going to make it difficult for you, that if you don't finish when you're supposed to, they have the weapons up top to win the game. I just think Nashville did get exposed, has been getting exposed, and everybody knows that the way to do it is lock up Mokhtar, don't let him get service in, frustrate him, push him out. Don't let him be in pockets in space on top of the box. Don't let him run into the box. So with that said, it just seems that they're a very easy team to handle from the defensive standpoint. So they're still a good defensive team. They're still very well structured. They play in blocks fantastically. Their rest defense is very good, but it's just not enough for you to be ahead in a very tough conference.
And I'm glad you mentioned what happened last night from the fans. And it's fatiguing for me to have to continue to bring it up, but I think we have to continue to bring it up so fans are exposed for what they do. And in going in and looking at, we were in our production chain last night here at SDH, and we were going through some of the responses. And one supporter in particular in Nashville was basically calling out Philadelphia for celebrating in front of the supporters, and that they should expect to have things thrown at them if they're celebrating, just because that's where they scored and that end of the pitch at Geodis. And so they're in that corner, and it just happens to be in front of the supporters. Therefore, the supporters should be throwing things at opposing teams because they're celebrating in front of them. I thought that it was someone who sadly is out of touch when it comes to what you're there for, when it comes to seeing a soccer match.
We got to get away from that mentality that is soft, not to respond with violence when the opposition, and whether it's opposition fans or opposition's players, celebrate nearby, and that's what soccer's about. It's not, man. It's the wrong mentality. Keep it together. Continue to chant. Continue to support your team. Maybe try to affect that game that way, but there's no space in soccer for you to be throwing anything at a player, getting out of your seats to jump on the field, or even be aggressively violent with your wording, right? Saying racial comments or anything like that, that needs to be just removed from the game. So we just got to move away from that, because that's what we hear. Oh, of course, it's our house. We got to make it difficult. They're not allowed to celebrate in that. No, that's not how it works, man. This is not war. At the end of the day, this is a sport, and we can be passionate about sports, but we cannot cross that line. There's a very good line about being passionate and being violent and being just a bad overall person. So I completely agree. I think that there's no room for that in soccer.
All right. And so because of that, I'm going to bring back one of the best post-match deliveries of a thought, and it's courtesy of our friends at Apple TV.
Look, I get that some people think if they buy a ticket, they've got the right to yell whatever abusive shit they want at footballers. But they're not just footballers. They're also people. And none of us know what is going on in each other's lives. Look, I get.
And there you go. So that's our guy. That's our guy, Roy Kent. You don't mess with Roy Kent. And what Roy Kent says. You don't do that. Just because you buy a ticket does not mean that you can do whatever the blank you want. And that earned us the explicit rating today, and I don't care.
That's right. Plain and simple. If Roy gets it, we all should.
When you look at everything else that's been going on, the Eastern Conference, obviously New England, a very good team. And when you get a banger from Matt Polster and Brad Gazan is screened, and you get to see what Carlos Heel can do when he's not played every single match, because he didn't play. He didn't start on the weekend, started in the midweek. First 45 minutes, he was the Carlos Hill we know. New England gets the win over Atlanta. Cincinnati gets the win over Red Bulls. So Cincinnati continues to be right there at the top. We went through the scores last night. We had a Pookie party in Houston. Tajuri Shradi scored as well for 2 of the 3 from Minnesota. Kansas City and RSL had a 2-2 draw. Colorado and Portland finished a game that really probably set the game back about 10 years. Chicago shocked Montreal 3-0. LAFC got the win last night, shutting out All Caps. Vancouver 2-1. And then San Jose and Seattle. And obviously I want to get into this one a little more in depth. But when you go through all the other final scores from last night, what did you see?
Minnesota's interesting, right? Pookie time and what he can provide as a finisher for this Minnesota team is extremely interesting. He seems like he fits with Reynoso. He knows how to find space. I thought his finish was excellent. Doesn't take too many touches. Doesn't allow the keeper to close him down. So I like what I'm seeing. He makes them a little bit deeper. They get to move around that midfield a little bit with Arriaga, with Dotson. Bringing in Bender Garcia from the bench and not needing him to be your primary forward because he's not the best finisher. He can do a lot and stretch our defenses and get behind defenders, but when it comes to his finishing, he's not fantastic or effective. So I think that's a pretty good win against a decent Houston side. We've been talking about Houston. Chicago's been oddly interesting under new management, right? And it just seems like they're so much more direct. Even Shaqiri starting to score. The vibe has changed. The locker room is getting a little bit more together, it seemed. They're enjoying playing, which maybe wasn't happening under Ezra. So those are the things that kind of stand out from this one, away from what I'm sure we're going to get into a little bit deeper.
Yep. San Jose shuts out Seattle 2-0. And Steph Cleveland had another match between the sticks. I know a lot of folks are probably staring at that and they're waving their hands frantically going, what in the wide world of sports is going on here? We're used to seeing Stephen Fry and you get another match with Cleveland. What in the wide world of sports is going on in Seattle right now?
Well, concussion protocol. He's not going to be rushed. He suffered a concussion during training. That's why he has not been playing. I thought Steph Cleveland has done well in Vancouver. He was fantastic. A couple of huge saves. But the problem continues to be depth. And in this one, Brian decides not to rotate the team, which was odd. I thought that playing away in San Jose, he was going to rotate and then bring his best 11 on Saturday. But maybe it was just designed that way. He talked about it after the game that, he's got to think about, should have he made more changes? He thought that they were trying to do too much, talked about Lodero. not being positionally aware because they're trying to put him in kind of a pocket to the right. And he likes to be free. He loves to roam. That's the way he's won everything here with Seattle, is just that freedom right behind the 9. A-Bear gets another start, and he's just in a rut. And when strikers are in a rut and nothing seems to work out, he gets an early chance, 6 or 7 minute, could have put more on it, could have changed the game. He doesn't. You allow San Jose, that's a very good team, to get on their feet, to get balance, to make the game their tempo. Once that PK gets going for San Jose, the team kind of loses a little bit of that initial intensity. And after that, they just can't get it back. Then Miguel Trauco gets a fantastic banger off a corner kick. No one was expecting the ball there. There's no stopping that shot. I mean, that's got to be one of the best goals of the season so far. And right after that goal, whatever momentum you had, even if it was a little bit, Brian said it really took the air off our sails, whatever was left. It was just over after that. So Seattle just having problems rotating the team, where Niko should be playing, where Albert should be playing. I'm not sure if I love the whole let's play Rusnak at 10. I've always liked him a little bit deeper. I think he helps distributing. He helps bringing the ball up the field. So I just think Brian is trying to tinker with his team as the other guys come back, right? So Christian will be back. Alex didn't play this game because he played so many games with Salvador. Jordan will be back. So this team will look a lot different. But it does worry me that you're not able to be more consistent when certain players are not there.
And as we get into the final 10 minutes, Jarrett Smith now joining us here. And Jarrett, we are just getting into red light, yellow light, green light for the last, say, 7 days. And I'm going to go ahead and let Niko start. Niko, do you want to go red to green? Do you want to go green to red?
We're going to go green today. We're going to go green because we did well, guys. We got to give ourselves some credit. I thought we did good. On the juice boxes, they were very good to me. We got the one and only draw between LAFC and San Jose. That one paid off pretty nicely. We talked about a yellow team trending in green last week, and that's what we're going to start with, the green, because Real Salt Lake is here to stay. First of all, they dominated and destroyed Orlando just the game before, and then yesterday, away at Kansas City, they're the best away team in the league, 21 points on the road. They haven't been beaten in 8. They won 5 of those in that stretch of time, and they're so deep. Yesterday in the game, you could tell that Mastroeni, he's down 2 goals, and he's not sweating. He knows what's happening. He brings the cavalry with Luna and brings in Chicho, and he just knows what he has on the bench. He knows what he's doing. So what's scary about RSL is that they're so deep, they're so good, and he feels like Pablo is still trying to calibrate the gears, oil up the machine, and he just has so many weapons. Palacio gets his debut, fantastic game, I thought, for his first game in MLS. It's not easy switching mid-season from playing in Colombia to playing here in the United States. I thought he adapted very well. He was fast. He distributed well. So, man, I'm just so impressed with this RSL team, and you better watch out because I'm going to put him in the green category because I saw that trend going, and they're going to keep on keeping on. So watch out, Western Conference.
All right, Jarrett, go for it.
Yeah, all right, because RSL would be mine as well in the sense that they just keep keeping on. And ironically, it's the team they played last night that I'm still green on that I was not earlier this season. I'm very impressed with what's gone on with Peter Vermes in Kansas City. They've gotten guys healthy. A couple results now that they're going to feel like they let slip away. The one over the weekend, especially where you had the fight in the middle of the field,
yeah,
and guys getting shoved down, and we have to discuss what is an actual aggressive or violent action by a player.
Yes.
But Still really impressed with what Kansas City has done, and especially at the start they had this season. Um, it's something that really sticks out to me about what Peter Vermes has done there, in that he's gotten them. Are they going to host a playoff game? Maybe not, but this thing could have spiraled into legendarily bad, and he didn't let it happen.
All right. So then, Jarrett, who's your yellow light for this week?
Yellow is Nashville, going in the wrong direction.
Okay.
Nashville is, of the last 5 games, they've won 1 of them, they've lost 4 of them. Hani Mukhtar hasn't scored in 5 games. And as that team goes, as Hani Mukhtar goes, that team goes. Flip it around. Yeah, last night was just ugly, both on the field and off the field.
Yeah.
Look, Nashville, we've talked about it for years, man. Nashville has to get a functioning number 9. They have tried, and they have missed, like inconceivably missed with like Akeloba.
Mm-hmm.
But if Hani Mukhtar ain't going, neither is Nashville. And they did a swoon like this last year. They're still in a playoff picture. They're not falling apart completely, but they're in my yellow light, and not for the reason they want to be.
All right, Niko, who's your yellow?
Because I'm a man of my word, and we talked about a specific player that I did not know if he had it in him to continue to be a leader. I'm going to go with LA Galaxy. I told you, John, that I didn't think that Ricky was going to have the type of performance against Philadelphia, because LAFC kind of gives you a different demeanor into the game, and you kind of get you play above your level sometimes as a team, as a collective unit. But after seeing what they did to Philadelphia and looking at the performances that Ricky had against LAFC and against Philadelphia, I got to move them from the red into the yellow. They're undefeated in 6. Yes, that's okay. A lot of draws in that stance. But just those 2 games, and Ricky Puig and his ability to give him that heart that Chicharito Hernandez gave this team when he was with the squad, it's been amazing. He's the way he conducts the ball, breaks lines, dribbling, his intensity on the field, his awareness of where players are at, pointing where he wants the ball at, not going down easy for a player of his stature. He's just taken a completely different turn, and he's really become that DP player that can push this LA Galaxy team into maybe get into the postseason. So I've just been impressed with Ricky. I've liked what Judd has been doing, but all in all, it's the Ricky show in the LA Galaxy, and it's interesting to see. So I'm going to put him in the yellow category.
All right, we continue the snake draft here and go red. So red, Niko, is who?
Colorado. Just inability to win, plain and simple. Not every game has to be that dire. I mean, man, it's just hard to watch Colorado. There's nothing really going on when it comes to this team. I don't know if you saw the Timbers game last night. Hopefully you didn't.
Jarrett was at the first half of it, and he missed the second half.
I was in Colorado on the 4th of July, and I went to the first half of that game and sat through what amounted to a monsoon for 2 hours to watch 45 minutes of what I theoretically think was a soccer match.
Absolutely, man. It's just hard to watch. It's hard to watch. Yes, there's some players coming in. Rafael Navarro, Brazilian soccer is going to come in. Gutman is going to come in, but I don't really know if that's going to be enough. But right now, this team is in a rut. They can't win games. Only 3 games won this season. It's outrageous. So that's why they're my red team.
All right, Jarrett, who's your red?
I feel like I've been playing volleyball with these 2 teams, and today we flipped the coin and we decided it's Toronto instead of Miami for me to pick on, because both of them are worthy to be picked on, and it might be my last chance to pick on Miami with Messi coming in, but still, man, Toronto it's been a year. It's been 2 years. It's been a dark mark on Bob Bradley's career. What's happened over the last 2 years, and he's not there anymore. What kind of stability do you have with your superstars? what can you do going forward for the rest of this year? Toronto just even when they pull something together resembling draws or wins, it feels like it's kind of delaying more chaos and more issues. Apparently made a trade. There was a report I think Tom Bogert had last night was the trade with Anthony Kay and Latif Blessing.
Yep.
But man, like, look, MLS is great because you can kind of flip things around in one off season. It's not always perfectly possible, but it's doable. Man, they're gonna need to do that this off season. And if that means one or two of your Italian superstars go out the door, that might be something you have to consider, because whatever concoction Toronto is making is more likely to blow up the lab at this point than it is to actually heal anything.
You aren't kidding. Niko, when it comes to matches this weekend that you have in your spot shadow, who are you staring at?
There's some good ones. We just talked about Nashville not being great, but that Cincinnati-Nashville games are always interesting. They're always fun. They seems to get played with a different demeanor. Philadelphia-New York is one that I always watch. Doesn't matter if it's live or it's a little bit later, but I'll be watching the entirety of that game. That's going to be a good one. Philadelphia coming in from a good win. New York's trying to find their way and starting to look better than they did a couple of weeks ago. That's an interesting one. Let's say RSL is a must-watch now. Doesn't matter who they play. So New York Red Bulls, also a team that had been doing all right. So that's probably the best matchups that I can see. I don't know about the Seattle Sounders Dallas game. That might be a boring one, to be honest. I'll tell you guys now. It could be a little bit of a slow-paced game here at Lumen Field. So, yeah, those are the matchups.
All right, so what's the latest at Pulso Sports on the soccer bar before you go?
All right, so we just talked about Stephen Cleveland. We had a really good one-on-one with him just about 3 or 4 days ago. We're working on putting up interview that we had with Nicolas Odero fully in Spanish. That's going to be a good one about this season, his struggles kind of playing out wide, where he wants to play, all of those things. You're going to catch that at Pulso Sports. And then Soccer Bar today, 2 p.m. We're going to push it an hour today. So 2 p.m. Pacific. We'll talk about everything that happened at Gold Cup. We'll go in depth into what we talked about a little bit today, this experimental U.S. men's national team in Gold Cup, what it means, where 03 is at, the big final, all that. You can catch it at Soccer Bar.
As always, El Rolo NW. Great to catch up with him at 10:30 Eastern time every Thursday to go Thursdays with Niko. Niko, my friend, it's fantastic to always have you here to break things down from the Pacific perspective. Be safe and be well, as you would, please.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
All right, Jarrett, send us home because we got to be back here at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
All right, mucha plata, y'all.
What he said. We're back here in, 21 hours and 54 minutes because it's a busy day tomorrow with Beyond Goals, Weekend Whip Around, all that stuff. So we're out. Take it easy. Bye.